Good morning, evening, afternoon to wherever you are in the world. And today we're back with another episode of Author's Purpose. This is episode 6 with the almighty powerful writer, Zombies. Care to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Jeanette. Most people know me as Zombies or Stephanie. That was my pen name, but my real name is Jeanette. Um, I'm 21 years old. I've been writing since I was like probably 7, really young. And I just graduated with a bachelor's in psychology. That's
Ooh,
the only exciting thing about me right now. So,
that's amazing. I want to be a psychiatrist, so I,
really,
yeah, I'll be
that's what I
taking.
wanted to do. And then I realized it was too hard. So I got scared.
You should do it. You should really do it. Um,
Maybe I will.
because I really want to be one as well. And I'm probably going to have to do like the extra practice because I know some special cases when they're very smart, they can just go bachelor's to medical school. But I don't think I'm going to be that case, and I'm going to go for my master's as well.
Mhm.
That because that's some very smart stuff to get a good score on that MCAT, and you only got a bachelor's.
Mhm.
So my first ish question, depending on how you look at it, is why did you decide to come onto this podcast today?
Um, I don't know. I thought it would be fun to do an interview because I don't talk about my books much. Nobody in real life really knows about my books, so I don't have a chance to even talk about them with anybody. So I thought it would be a fun experience.
Well, I just want to say thank you again. I just want to continuously express my gratefulness for this opportunity to even interview you because your book is so good.
Thank you. It's an honor to be interviewed by you as well.
Thank you. I, fun fact, read your book in like 2 to 3 days, if I'm remembering correctly, because it was just like, I need more of this.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
And like through the continuous experience. So to break down the story, I was in a slump with Wattpad because it's actually quite difficult to actually find a book that I love and I'm not just posting about just to get an episode up. I don't want to do that.
Mhm.
So I was looking for books and I came across this book. I came across your mommy's. I'm sorry, I forgot the title.
Mommy's house? No,
Mommy's
you're totally.
House. That's the book I first came across, and I looked at it and I was just like, I don't know if I want to read this because I was scared. Like, what's, whew, what is we finna talk about in a book named Mommy House and with this cover? So I decided maybe I should go with another book on this profile because I hear good things about this profile. And I clicked on your profile and scrolled, and I found Puppet Boy, and I really like this cover. It really caught my eye. So I was just like, mommy's house or puppet boy, mommy's house or puppet boy. So I just, I literally flipped a coin. It landed on tails. I got puppet boy. And so I decided to read the first chapter. What I do is I read the first chapter, and if the first chapter is not good, I don't read anything else. So I read your first chapter, and I was like, I can't even express how in awe I was, how breathtaking I was. That I said I was only going to read like 5 chapters that day because I tried to span it out for a week. I ended up reading like over half of your novel on the first time I picked it up.
Oh my god. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. That really means a lot to me.
And then I was like, so the particular thing that got me about your writing, because it's like different authors have different things that catch my eye. It was the emphasis that you put on like the disgusting situations that happened in this novel, and I just like crunched up and cringed at some of the moments. Like, ew, I don't ever want that to happen to me. But I will say I was wary because when I really enjoy a book, sadly, this always happens where either A, the book is predictable and I know the ending and that kind of takes away, or um I get to the ending and it's not predictable, but it's just terrible. And
Mhm.
I was so concerned, like, because I was reading it so fast, and I was just like, please don't be a bad ending. Please don't be a bad ending. And then I read your ending, and I'm just like, I can't. I can't. Yes.
That's
So,
how a lot of people feel about
like,
it.
I really
If it's
had to
not
stop.
anger, it's just like, what did I just read?
It wasn't even like a what did I just read, as in I'm so confused. It was like, wow, that it's like I'm so amazed that I just couldn't form words, and I'm just like, wow, this is an amazing book.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. But what is your primary inspiration slash inspirations for writing Puppet Boy?
Well, I wrote Puppet Boy when I was 15, and I guess I was kind of just going for a cliche horror story because I
Mhm,
watch so many horror movies that I'm kind of sick of when you can just predict the ending right away.
mhm,
So I was like, I want to write a horror story that seems cliche in the beginning, but the
mhm,
ending is totally not what you'd expect.
mhm,
So I did that, and hopefully I hit the nail on the head, but
mhm,
that's what my goal was.
mhm. I think you achieved that.
Thank
So,
you.
so what does your writing process look like? For any book, but I'm looking specifically for Puppet Boy.
Well, Puppet Boy, I just was so eager to write it that I think I finished writing it in the span of 2 weeks maybe. I was updating pretty much every day.
Are you serious?
Yeah, sometimes twice a day because I when for some reason with that story, it was just like
Mhm,
flowing out of me. I don't know why, but none of my other stories are like that. It was
mhm,
just it was insane. So I was updating every day with Puppet Boy.
mhm. And did you edit it? Like, did you edit it after, during?
No, not at all.
And has it gone through any edits over the year?
I have, yeah. I've
Okay.
gone back and edited and added a few things, but
Mhm.
not too much.
Okay, because I'm also right now currently 15. I started writing my book when I was 13. I've wanted to be a writer since I was like 6 or 7.
Mhm.
And I started writing my book, my first book, Losing Myself, scrapped that immediately. It's a really good concept. I'm just not ready to write it.
Mhm.
Um,
That happens.
mhm. Then at 14, early 14, I began writing this book, uh, Accepting the Pain, but before it was Accepting the Storm. And it's so hard to write.
Mhm.
It's taken me like a few months to write it. So, like, for you to write an amazing book like this in 2 weeks, wow.
Well, I'm sure that you will find a book that you will write like that fast,
Hmm.
but everyone works at their own pace. I take years to write books. Like
Hmm.
some of the stories, the unfinished stories on my page, I started in 2017 and it's 2021 now and I'm not
Hmm.
even close to being finished. So don't let that discourage you.
Okay. Thank you. I won't try, but some days, we get that little brain, that little author brain where we just like, this was never good enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that too
Mhm.
well.
Me too. So, what would you say is your writing strength and your writing weakness?
I'd say for a strength, I think, I guess the fact that I add flaws to my characters. I think a lot of people, like, when they make their characters, they make them flawless because they want to make them seem heroic or, like, I guess, really strong, but they don't consider that the character is human or whatever it is. But a character's supposed to have flaws because they're supposed to be, realistic. So I think a strength of mine is that I make my readers hate my characters sometimes. I hate my characters, but I think it's all part of like adding dimension to them. And I guess a weakness is the fact that it takes me forever to finish stories, and sometimes I don't even finish them at all.
Hmm. So,
I get really writer's
uh,
block.
okay. So, I I believe that um, I'm not you, obviously, but from my reading
Mhm.
experience of Puppet Boy, I believe you're right. Your strength would be basically how you can tell, like, actually feed me the story. So what I mean by this is certain stories, like the way that it's a good story, it's got good characters, it has good writing, it's just something is off about the way that it's like flowing and it's going.
Mhm.
But yours was just so like, I'm feeding you not even breadcrumbs, I'm just feeding you just enough information so that you don't starve to death. I'm feeding you just enough so you don't starve to death, but it's nowhere near
Mhm.
your full. So like, I was just like always half empty or not even a quarter full. So I'm just like, give me more information, give me
Mhm.
more. So it's like I feel like it. This happens with a lot of books, but something else will be wrong. But with yours, it really stood out on how you can slowly nibble away at a tail and then give me just enough to satisfy me, but not enough to bore me.
Thank you.
Mhm. Now, a flaw that I might have had with this novel was it was just sometimes it was a little too grotesque. Like I feel like, not to be that person, but I feel like you did it like a little too well in some areas, and I really had disturbing dreams that night. Like it's just like, whew, like it's like, ugh, like,
That's yeah. I don't know. I something about me when I was 15 was able to just be really disgusting, but
mhm,
now I struggle with it a little bit. I get
mhm,
grossed out.
mhm.
I don't know what was wrong with me back then, but
Yeah,
it
because
was definitely interesting.
I had a weirdish dream after this, and I have a dream journal, so I write these dreams down, and it's just like I was getting turned into that puppet, and I could hear like I don't obviously I this is what I imagine your voice to be. It's not actually your voice. I could hear your voice in my head reading your lines from your book, and as the main antagonist was turning me into one of the puppets. So I had a really messed up dream just because the way that you describe some of these scenes and some of these like moments, I could feel that that was me, and it's just like, ooh.
I'm sorry that it gave you bad dreams.
It's okay. It was worth it. It was worth it.
It gives me bad dreams too. I have a bad dream like every single night. So if
Mm.
that makes you feel any better.
It doesn't. I don't want any of us to have bad dreams. Boo.
True. I wish that we all could have good dreams.
So, do you try to be original and creative with your work and cater only to yourself, or do you realize that you have an audience and you cater your work to them?
Hmm. Um, well, I think the issue with writing on an app as opposed to like being an author and writing a full story and then publishing it in stores or wherever it may be is that when you're like posting chapter by chapter and you have an audience reading these chapters and commenting, it's kind of hard not to, I guess, have them influence where you're going with your next step.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's a little bit of both. I've definitely altered my story to please my readers at the same time as altering it to make them not happy with it because I don't know, that's part of reading a story is like the emotional roller coaster that you get with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a it's kind of tough.
So, can you give us an overview and like one or two specific examples on how you develop your plot and your characters? I'm more interested in your characters because I feel like they're very dynamic, but take this question as you will.
Um well, my characters, it's pretty weird. They just come to me.
Mhm,
Their appearance, their personality, and their names will just come to me and I don't change it. I just keep it as it is. I they're like people to me,
mhm,
is how I put it. Like I know that they're not actually real people, but like in my head they're real. And like I feel like I gave birth to them in a way, which I did a little bit, you know?
mhm,
So I don't know. I don't have like a helpful answer to that question because they really just come to me. It's
mhm.
weird.
It's not weird. It's just you, and it's obviously
Hmm.
working. So, what is something that changed between your first draft of Puppet Boy and your final draft? Um, and why did you decide to change that?
Not much changed. If anything, I just went back and added more substance and suspense to the story because I was kind of like I was kind of using Puppet Boy as a way to get used to writing gore and
Mhm,
things I wasn't totally comfortable with writing. So I didn't focus too much on making like a storyline or anything, you know. So I went back and added a little bit of suspense, but I really it's pretty much true to the first draft.
mhm. So, what is the? I have a two-parter question now, so I'm going to clarify that first. So, I want to know like the main thing that you wanted to achieve with Puppet Boys, such as I want an example from your like personal thing. Maybe that was to write a 500,000 word book, or and I want something from like your audience thing. Maybe you wanted like readers to say this was horrifying. Like, you understand, or should I clarify?
Hmm.
Okay,
No,
so
I get it. Um, well, I just wanted to write a book, a
mhm,
horror book. I hadn't written much horror. I didn't really find my like genre that I liked really until I started writing horror. So I
mhm,
was kind of just dabbling with it. So what I was trying to achieve was to write a horror story without abandoning it and, you know, being gory and scary. And I wanted my readers to, first of all, be annoyed with the ending and also think that it was really scary and disgusting and think that I'm a psychopath for writing it.
mhm,
That was my goal because have you ever like watched a horror movie and you're like, who comes up with this? Like
I've
who
read a
who thought
contemporary, and I'm just like, how did you twist real life to this extent?
exactly. Like that's what I wanted my readers to feel. I wanted them to be like, who do you have to be to even think of something like this?
Mm. So, do you think you succeeded in doing those things?
I think so, according to my comments.
Mhm. So, what is the main message slash theme that you wanted to portray in Puppet Boy?
Um, I guess the message I wanted to portray from like I don't know how to explain this. I guess the message was just to like not try and predict a story's ending right off the bat.
Mhm,
Like I wanted people to be surprised.
mhm. So, like,
So
it's just like something that is, it's every story is different. So don't expect this story to be the
yes,
same. Okay, I can.
exactly.
Hmm. So, do you want each of your books to stand on their own, or are you trying to build like a continuity, like an interconnected universe?
I've never really thought too much about that. I do try and put parallels with my stories. Like each one of them has kind of like a little nod to another. I I don't know. I never thought about that. Mm, I would like to have them all like connected in a little universe, but that would be kind of creepy if like there
Mhm.
were that many. Like I don't know.
Mhm. So, from my
I don't.
experience from writing interconnected, every single one of my planned novels are interconnected. It drains you because you
Mhm.
instead of focusing on the continuity of one book, say if you already published 8 books, you have to continue and make sure everything adds up and makes sense and the dates are correct in all of those 8 books. And it's kind of like draining, but from what I read from my beta readers, it's so satisfying for them to figure out like, oh, this character
Sure.
is this character from this book, and this is why this happened from this book. So like,
Mhm.
I think it does work. It's just you have to be willing to put in like twice the amount of effort for a normal book.
That's very true.
So this is a kind of weird question, but from what is an early experience you had that made you believe that, language and writing had such a strong impact on people?
An experience I had?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if this is like the correct answer to your question or if I'm like
There are no
interpreting it wrong.
correct answers.
True. Um, well, I read a lot when I was in middle school specifically because I just had no friends. Like nobody wanted to be friends with me. I was just pretty much alone.
Mhm.
So I would just read and it was such an escape for me. And I feel like everyone says that, but until you felt it, you don't understand how much
Mhm.
like reading can have an impact on you and like the way the characters can like feel like friends to you. It's just crazy when that's all that you have. It's really impactful.
Yeah, I totally agree because like in my sixth grade year, my best friend, she died and my grandmother died. So it's just like when
I'm
you're
so
feeling,
sorry.
yeah, it's okay. I'm stronger now. I've worked past that trauma, hopefully. But
Mm,
it's like when you feel like you have nobody and you can get like a laugh or a thought or you can get a smile on your face from reading this character succeeding or imagine yourself as this
mhm.
character, it just makes you fall in love with writing and reading because these words can change people for the better.
Exactly.
So if you had a chance to rewrite Puppet Boy, what would you change or done differently? So it doesn't have to change anything. You just maybe you woke up at 9 and started it instead of 8. I don't know.
Mm, I think I'd probably make it more, I guess, have more substance in terms of, learning about Tyler and Emily's life and backstories, and I guess adding more dimension to their characters because, I mean, looking back on it now, they're kind of like there's not really much to them. I just feel like it's not really like a story worth. I have no idea how to explain my what I'm thinking right now.
That's okay. Um, we have for with the backstory part, I do believe like the Tyler and Emily, I believe. There we go.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm glad I got that right. Um, I don't believe that they like had an intense like a backstory. Like you gave them a backstory. Don't get me wrong, and I understand like what they were coming from, but I can't say that this backstory like in the novel actually like played a big significant role in their
Hmm.
character. Um, but I don't feel like it took away from the novel. I mean, if you did that, I feel like it could have added from the novel, but it wasn't distracting because at least they had a backstory, and
Hmm.
um, and at the same time, it was just like I was too focused on the gore and the nastiness of the antagonist rather than focusing on this character should do this because this is what happened to them.
Hmm. Well,
Um,
that's relieving to hear someone say that because I'm always just worried that that
Same.
book specifically, like the characters are just so one dimensional, if that's
Mhm.
even a term.
Yeah, it definitely is because some characters you're just like you have that one thing about your life and that just defines you.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So why does being an author matter to you?
Well, uh, for kind of like for the reason that I was saying before, I love when people tell me that I've inspired them to write
Same.
or that they've read my story and that they're like obsessed with it. I Someone made a TikTok account of my characters from Mommy's house and I just could not believe that that was real. I was so it just like made me so happy that people really my characters really touch people, my writing really touches people. So that's why it matters to me cuz reading has touched me in many ways and I want people to feel the same by my writing.
Mm-hmm. It's inspiring. Yeah, same, totally. Because, like, as an author myself, when people tell me, like, this book has had an effect on them and it's got them through a hard time, it's just like, wow, I helped someone.
Mhm.
Um,
There's no words to describe the
yes,
feeling it is. You have to be an author yourself to know.
yes, totally. So this may or may not apply to you, but after publishing Puppet Boy, how did your writing process change?
I guess because that was my first time writing for an audience. Whenever I've written previously, no one's ever read it except me. So I kind of, from the, I have the privilege of having people read it and like give me feedback. So I was able to understand what readers want from a story, not just focusing on what I want from it. Like if I want my story to be consumed, then I need to also consider the readers. So I've been taking that into account since then.
This is just a side note entirely for me, but is there a way, like, is this published anywhere else, like on Wattpad? Like other,
No, it is
okay.
only on Wattpad, yeah.
Okay, because some authors have a plan to like use Wattpad as a a building device to their audience and then
Hmm.
publish their works. So I wanted to make sure that audience knew that you can go be found elsewhere.
Yeah, I would love to do that in the future, but
Mhm.
currently it's only on Wattpad.
Okay. So can you give us insight on your three main characters? Protagonist, and antagonist. What their mindsets and how do they solve problems? Not even just in a novel, but like everyday problems.
Well, Tyler, he's very compliant and I guess just accepting.
Hmm.
Um, he he understands that there's not much he can do about the situation, that his only way to get through it is to just comply. And Emily is definitely the opposite. She, spoiler alert, you know, um, sides with the man momentarily, hoping that it'll work out in her favor, but it doesn't. So she's very selfish. And I'm not saying that that's wrong in a situation like that, but that's definitely how her character's mindset is.
Mm.
And the man, he obviously does not handle things well at all. He needs some severe psychiatric attention, and that's how he solves problems is being horrible.
So what are some unfinished writing projects that you have, and do you ever plan on finishing them?
I currently have I'm Scared of Her. It's a story on my profile that for some reason I just cannot finish for some I wish I knew. And also Pumpkin Eater is a story that I want to finish right now but can't for the life of me. So those two, and then I have like a little surprise um in a connection with mommy's house that I haven't like announced or anything yet.
Okay.
Hopefully it'll be announced by the time this is out on YouTube, but who knows with me.
I'm pretty sure I'm become one of your fans. This happens so often that when I have an author on here, I become one of their fans. um, what kind of research do you do on for your books, and how does this research influence your book and your writing process?
I honestly I don't do much research. I'm not somebody who can research a lot. I just think it's I don't know, I don't have the attention span for it.
Mhm.
I did a lot of research for the sequel to Mommy's House called The Truth. It was about like a detective and his job and stuff. Like I researched what they do, how interrogations work, and all that. That's pretty much the extent of research I've done on a book, unfortunately.
I So for me, I believe it really depends on the book because sometimes I'm just like, I got this. I'm just gonna wing it. And other times I
Hmm.
don't want to be disrespectful, so I research certain things.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that.
Um, so like even if I think I know stuff about it, I still research it if I don't want to be disrespectful. For a specific example, with this book that I have called Losing Myself. It's about teenage depression. And I've been through teenage depression, but I still research some things about depression because my experience is not the end all be all, and different people have different
Hmm.
depressions. Yeah, so
That's true.
that's how I go about research, but at the same time, research slows the writing process down for me by a lot because it's so draining.
It does, yes. It is very draining. That's why I try not to do it. But again, if I really don't know what I'm talking about, I will look it up. But I usually don't do extensive research unless necessary. But
So, what does success mean to you in life, and what does success mean to you tied to your author career?
um success in terms of like money doesn't really mean much to me. But success in like if I ever was able to do what I love as a profession, which is writing, that would mean so much to me, like more than anything. So I'm manifesting and hoping that one day I can be established as an author and be able to focus on what I love instead of just doing things that I'm not happy with.
So, when did you believe Puppet Boy was quote unquote successful?
Um, Probably when in like October of 2017. I don't know if you're familiar with E Entertainment.
I don't think I
Um,
am.
it's like I don't even know what it is, honestly. It's so embarrassing. It's like a magazine, but they're pretty popular. And they released a list of online stories, horror stories to read when for Halloween.
Mhm.
And my story was on there next to Stephen King and other like insanely amazing authors that I look up to. So I was just totally in awe by that they even found my story and thought that it was worthy enough to put next to someone like Stephen King. It was just unreal. So
As
that's
they should. Your writing is amazing. Like it's so
thank you
amazing.
so much.
Like it's so amazing. I know like every author I get on here, they're so worried about if they're good enough, but you are like,
Well, you're an author, you know, like
yeah, I definitely do know because
hard.
I get on here and start preaching to these authors about how they're good enough, and then I come to my writing and be like, this is
Mhm.
trash. Yeah,
Exactly.
gotta
I'm
be
the
a.
same way.
Mhm. Which is crazy because I watched this author tube video by Kate, and she was talking about how you as an author wouldn't go up to your friend and say your book is terrible, you should hate yourself, but you say that to yourself all the time, and that's like that made me
True.
feel called out.
Yes. Yeah, because I look at other people who are really amazing and they're saying that their writing's bad. And I'm like, how can you even think that? How is
Mhm.
that even possible that you think that? I mean, obviously everyone has room to improve, but it just like it makes me realize like maybe I should stop being so hard on myself. But I won't. I'll
Yeah.
continue. That's the way it is.
And so, how do you balance your personal life with your author life?
I don't really balance it well. I am very stressed out and always doing something, and I don't even really have time to write anymore. When I do have the time, I'm more focused on just getting rest and like focusing on my mental health and trying to relax and stuff. So it's again, I would love if in the future I could just focus on writing and that's it. But for now, it's not very well balanced.
So, how many hours a day do you write?
It totally depends on my mood.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'll write, sometimes I write chapters in like 40 minutes and then I'm so confident in it and I just post it. And sometimes I'll write for hours and then I'll delete the whole thing. Be like, that was horrible. And then it'll just go on for days, the same thing over and over. So there's no definitive answer. It just depends.
Mhm. So, how do you go about selecting your title for your books?
Hmm. Um, Again, it just comes to me. Like I think of an idea and I
Mhm.
think of an idea and I'm like, how can a title relate to this idea? And it just happens.
Mhm. So, how do you select your name? So, I suppose that you select your names for your characters the same way.
Yes. I never like look up names or anything. My character is named and that's it. Like
Mhm.
that's just how it is.
Oh, I wish I could have that because me, I take so long renaming and renaming and renaming
Mhm.
because naming, I'm going to feel so bad for my children because naming is not my strong suit. Um,
Well, everyone's different. Everyone has a
yeah,
different process.
that's true. But like for me, like with my book, losing myself, it was just a process. But I'm gonna work. I'm gonna talk about my work in progress book for pain. So that's a part of a 5 book series. So I had to make sure all the titles made sense. They all had a meaning.
Mhm.
So I settled on having all the titles have pain in it. To represent something, which I can't say. But yeah, and that literally took me 3 months to figure that out. But I was clearly writing a novel as I was doing that, and then I realized, I like for my characters, I don't even have names for them. Like sometimes I refer to them as that woman, that girl, um,
Mhm.
or I say insert name here. And it makes me frustrated because I feel like, these are my children or this is like I gave birth to this thing. So it's just like,
Mhm.
how dare I not name like my child?
No, don't think of it like that. It will come to you. You know it feels right. So if it doesn't
Yeah.
feel right, then you have every right to change it as much as you want or wait until it comes to you, you know. That's your baby, you know. You can do whatever you want with it.
Like
Don't
you.
name it at all. It's up to you.
Mhm. Yeah, because like it's so satisfying when I get that moment and it just clicks. Like with the
Mhm.
character, I had so much trouble naming my protagonist, one of my protagonists, Azrael, and I finally settled on that name because of what it
Mhm.
meant and what it meant to the story. And I'm just
Mhm.
like, yes, I did it. I named him. And now
Yeah,
I
that
have like 8 other characters to name.
well, you just have to hope that that happens again.
Mm, hopefully it will. So, um, so what characters in your book is most, you know, what character do you see most in Puppet Boy, which is a funny question, to be like someone in real life that you know? This could be yourself or anybody else.
I don't really think of anyone else through my characters. Um, I pretty much just tried to embody like a victim mindset in two different people. So like while Tyler's acceptance, Emily's like fighting it and like trying to like use her smarts and like do manipulate to like get out of the situation. But yeah, I didn't really they weren't inspired off of anybody
Mhm.
in real life or anything.
Okay. So, for me, depends on the character. I have a hard time
Mhm.
just making someone up because a character is supposed to be a real life person. That's how you get people
Yeah.
invested into your novel. They got to feel real. So I have a hard time with just making up a real person. So I actually I find inspiration, I would say, off of like things I've experienced and books I've read and stuff like that. Um, and like mostly my experiences, just because I find it like I know how I felt during a certain time, and I know
Mhm.
how to write how I felt. But at the same time, even if I don't want to write how I felt because it doesn't go along with the story, I can write how somebody else would feel the way that I felt. Like it's very complicated, but like
Mhm.
I need something as a iron, like a staple for that character before I can begin making him into a person or her into a person or they into a person.
Yeah, I understand that. I think like even with me, like I think that that doesn't happen, but it's hard not to be at least a little bit influenced by what you see, like, in real life or on TV or in other books and stuff.
Mhm. So if you didn't write, what would you do with that? What would you do instead, and what would you do with that quote unquote spare time?
I'd probably paint. I I think painting's fun. I just don't have the patience for it, but if I didn't have writing, I'd probably try to paint.
Hmm. So for me, I wish I could draw and paint. I really want to do it, but I'm really not good at it. But I know everything. You start off not good at it, and then you get good at it.
Mhm.
But for me, I think if I didn't write, I would probably just read more, which is kind of sad. But
No, it's not sad.
yeah, but I read a lot. I read books. So I read personal books over here on my bookshelf, like The Hate You Give, Love, All the Right
Mhm.
Places You Love. Then I read books for my podcast, which I also love, like Puppet Boy, The Undergrounder,
Mhm.
um, like those books. And then I also read my college textbooks. So it's just like my whole life is like a lot of reading. So if I
It's
didn't write,
fun.
yeah, it is. That's why I do it. But like,
I mean, the college textbooks aren't really too much
yeah,
fun, but
college textbooks they give
other
you
stuff.
headaches. Well, for me at least,
Oh yeah.
because
Yeah, me too.
because it's just like you have to sit there and study, and if you don't, you're gonna fail that midterm exam, man.
Mhm.
It's a
For
stress.
me, when I have to read, like when
Hmm.
I'm being forced to read, I don't want to. I have to, by my own willingness, read.
Hmm. That's me with writing. Like when I force myself to write, it's either not good words, and I'm saying this objectively. Like I know that that doesn't make any sense. Like I know that sentence doesn't make any sense. But like if I'm just like, wow, I got that itch to write. The words just
Mhm.
flow out, but it's a balance, obviously. Sometimes I just have to write, regardless if
Mhm.
I want to or not.
Yeah.
So this is a weird question. So I'm gonna split this question into different parts. If you met one of your characters, no, let's say if you met all three of your main characters, what would you say to them?
Well, if I met the man, I would run away as fast as possible. I would be horrified.
Okay.
I'd probably tell him he needs help, like genuinely.
Mhm.
Um, I'd probably hug Tyler and Emily because I just feel for them. That's obviously horrible
Yeah.
is like an understatement to describe the situation they're in. So I
Mhm.
would give them a hug and tell them it's okay.
Yeah, I think I would do the same thing as you if I met your characters.
Hmm.
But a common trope that I love manga and I read a lot of manga. I read a lot. But a common trope that I have is that you die and you wake up as a character in your own novel. So what would you do if you woke up as one of the characters in your novel?
um, I don't even know. I would be horrified.
Well, for me, it depends on where I wake up at the novel
Yeah, yeah.
because if I wake up and I'm all up in this dingy warehouse, oh no, I already know what's gonna go down. I can't even. Like I just would have been like, if I woke up as the man, I would have just like, I don't even want to turn myself in because I didn't do this. But at the same time, I'm just like I just wouldn't even know what to do. Especially if I woke up into one of them little scenes where he's making him into a puppet. Oh,
Uh-huh.
I can't. Like,
Yeah.
okay. So next question: what do you believe is unique only or fluidly seen in only like your writing style? What is unique to your writing style?
Hmm. Um, I'm not really too sure.
Hmm.
I I think that the way that I present my characters is unique, um, because I do try to make them so flawed. I don't know if you mean like writing or like story,
It
like
doesn't
with
matter.
okay. So yeah, I'd say like the way I present my characters. I try not to describe too much about scenes and like settings because I want people to use their own imagination as well.
So I can answer this for not for you, but what I think about you. Um, So I already said, the way you feed information through your text is just so amazing and breathtaking. So to give it another example, except for that, another thing that I found quite unique and that you really can only do on online platforms is your presence. Like I don't know what it is about your stories, like because on Wattpad it shows all the stories you wrote on there, and your
Mhm.
profile. I don't know what it was, but it gave me like chills and shivers. I don't know what it is about your profile that does like it goes so well with like not themes of your book, but with like the horror of your book. So it's just like, ooh, do I really want to contact this? What if they're trying to like, what if they're trying to get at me? It's not like I was really like having these irrational fears due to your profile, and it gave like it just went so along with your writing. Like I know another author had this, I think it was Nicholas, where he wrote like depressing and sad novels, and his profile just woo gave me the feels, and I just wanted to cry. So
Mhm.
like your profile really went with your like horror stories so well that I was just contemplating like, ooh, this person could really be somebody that I don't want to get involved with.
Is this person a psychopath?
Yeah, it's like maybe
I
that's why
don't
they.
blame you.
Cause at
I
one
don't blame
point
you
I
for
had a
being.
conspiracy theory about you that the puppet boy was actually true and you were the man and you was just trying to get it.
I was a 15-year-old little girl when
Like oh,
I
I'm just
trust me, there's no truth to that. I,
uh,
that's so funny though.
yeah, because I was just your profile really did a number on my chills because it's just like ooh.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never heard like no one's ever said that to me before. I just love horror so much that I try to embody it, even though it's like nothing like how I am in person.
So do you believe in writer's block?
Yes, 100%. I have writer's block every day.
Mhm. So
It's brutal.
what is your definition of writer's block?
When you just can't seem to write a chapter that flows with the previous chapter or flows with your story at all.
Hmm. So for me,
Personally, for me,
mhm,
I write a bunch of chapters and just scrap them
mhm,
before I end up writing the one that I want.
mhm. So for me, I don't actually have a 100% idea of how I feel about the topic of writer's block because it's very controversial in the writing community. Um,
Hmm.
but from my understanding of things, it's still undeveloped, and I don't do research, so take this with a grain of salt. I do not believe writer's block in a traditional sense. And what I mean by this is I do believe that writers have an issue with like where no words can flow into the paper, but I don't think it's like some mystical magical force that just doesn't prevent words onto the paper. I feel like it's more to
Mhm.
do with writers oftenly, or from my experience, um don't know how to properly take care of their mental health. So sometimes they don't even notice that writing is burning them out instead of like energizing them. So it can be difficult to write
Yeah.
about something that's just like you're not mentally right in the head for it right now.
hmm That's very true. That's an interesting take. Yeah, I think I get writer's block because I kind of feel a pressure to
To
update
hmm like so,
because I do have an audience
hmm
that I'm like I kind of just feel pressured, and I try not to write when I don't want to because I don't want to associate something I love with being a chore. But
hmm
at the same time, I'm so scared of disappointing people that I just don't know what to do. And I think it stresses me out a lot more and makes it a lot worse for me.
hmm yeah, that's what I was trying to like get at.
Hmm
So I don't know if this is your experience, but this has definitely been one of my experience. This is just I'm just pointing out a negative experience. Like I've had amazing experience. I don't want anybody to think that I don't love writing. I do, and I believe
hmm
all of us do. Like all writers do, because writing is kind of hard. It is hard work. It's not kind of. It is hard work.
hmm
And but some bad things always come with good. And one of my experiences with the writing community is that we have this wave of we all need to be perfect in our writing. And I just feel like that's not realistic
Yeah.
because I feel like if certain novels have flaws, but a flaw to a novel is like a person, and if a person didn't have a flaw, I don't think you would like that person very much.
Exactly. That's so true.
So that's one issue that I kind of do have like I kind of see just speaking from my experience, just see like in all authors and in the writing community as a whole, it's just this wave of perfection. Every book has to be perfected. It could not be no
hmm
flaws with any written piece ever.
hmm Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think, especially when you do get negative feedback, as important as constructive criticism is, sometimes people don't display it as that. And it makes things a lot worse because then it makes you feel like you need to be perfect so you don't get negative feedback. It's really it's a very stressful job to write.
So, what was your hardest scene to write in Puppet Boy?
I don't remember what chapter it is, but I do know that I had a really hard time, spoiler alert, writing about when Tyler finally died because he was just in his head, he was like, I used to be afraid of death, but now I want it. And like, I laughing at the thought of like dying in spite of this man who wants me to be alive,
Mhm.
like that was just really powerful to me for
It
some reason. I
was.
remember crying while writing it because it was just really, it was that serious to me. So I don't know. That was definitely the hardest scene to write in that story out of all those really hard scenes.
To compare my experience, my hardest scene reading, the hardest scene I had for reading. So I had a very hard time reading a lot of these things because it's just so grotesque. So I'm just like,
hmm
"Ugh." But by far the hardest for me was the ending when he went on that stage and performed a puppet show.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure with like with his other victims in the lobby, well in the chairs, and
Mhm.
Tyler as his puppet, and that was really particularly hard for me because once again my experience with writing is there's always a good ending. So that's what I was just kind of expecting. Tyler was going to escape like always. Um,
Mhm.
he was going to escape. He and Emily were going to have a relationship. They're going to be together. They're going to escape, and they're going to defeat the man. Always the
Yep.
good ending. And so when he came across the stage and the thing finished, I jumped out of my chair and I just felt a wave of emotions. Not even a wave, an ocean of emotions, because it was just happiness. I finally finished this amazing novel. Sadness. I finished an amazing novel. I don't know what I'm going to read next. Disgust. How could this person get away with doing such atrocities? Jealousy. I get jealous. I'm a human. Jealousy. How could someone write such an amazing novel? Like it was just so many. I even a tad bit of anger. Like, cause I'm just like these type of things happen in real life where people just get away scot free, not ever getting caught for having so many victims. And it was just like so powerful. It was such a powerful ending because it took everything in the novel, every emotion that you wanted us to feel, or I believe you wanted us to feel, and it just amplified it, and it made me feel so much at one time that I was just like, wow, can't form sentences.
Wow, thank you so much. That you have absolutely no idea how much that means to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that ending really got me for a while. Like, and that's what it's a common theme with books that I
Yeah.
allow on my podcast. It's just something about them that has a moment where I'm just like, wow, this is why I love to read.
Hmm.
And yours was the
That's why it's so
ending.
powerful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's just like, it's just so much. I had a similar
Well, thank
experience.
you.
Oh, you can go.
No, I was just saying thank
Oh,
you.
okay. I had a similar experience with Hamilton. I'm a musical fan. I'm just a creative fan. Like anything creative, I'll leech onto it. But I had a similar experience with Hamilton the musical because motifs, I'm going to explain it for anybody who doesn't know. A motif is a reoccurring something in a book. Not a book, but a story. So it could be a reoccurring word. It could be a reoccurring. It's intentionally reoccurring. It has a purpose to reoccur. It could be a reoccurring like note in a musical. It's just reoccurring. So
Hmm.
when Hamilton used those motifs and they, at the end use almost every motif that they ever used between the musical, it really made me feel all of the emotions I felt through that play and it just amplified. And that's what it kind of reminded me of in your novel. And that's why I really, oof, really loved the ending.
Thank you so much. I can't say it enough.
So, do you hide any secrets in your novels that few people, find?
I do sometimes. There's a lot of things that I hint at that I don't ever even disclose and
Mm-hmm.
that people will get. Like, for example, in The Man, the prequel to Puppet Boy, I put in spoiler alert again that
Mm-hmm.
I put in hints that Tommy's dad is not his. I don't know if you've ever read it, but I'm just saying like
Mm-hmm.
Tommy's dad is not his real dad, and it was just like slightly hinted at, and only a few people got it.
Mm-hmm.
So I do a bunch of things like that, and then I never say if it's true or not.
Yeah, I love that because it leaves so much room for imagination, and it's really a
Hmm.
good thing. So, what is your favorite writing snack and writing drink?
I don't really have one. When I write, I kind of get tunnel vision, and someone could be talking to me, and I just have no idea they're even there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't do anything except write when I'm in a zone.
Mm-hmm. So, our last question of this podcast. It was so lovely having you on here, but what is some future things that we can expect from you? Future novels, future projects, future anything that we can expect?
Hopefully, in the future, you can expect me to be a published author. um, I would love that, but
I would buy that. I want a signed copy. I want a signed copy right from you.
you will get one. You will be the first one
Well,
to get a
thank
sign.
you.
And also, I'm doing something with Mommy's House that I haven't released yet. So, but I'm sure there will be more novels. Hopefully, I'll finish the ones that I'm still working on eventually. But yeah.
So I just want to thank you again for coming onto my podcast. It really means a lot to me. And also for the viewers out there, there is a link in the description to go read Puppets Boy because it's amazing, especially the ending. And here is some not on the screen. You'll see some other videos that I've made and the author's purpose playlist if you want to go watch another watch me talk to another author. Okay, thank you for watching and goodbye.